Okay, hi, Carmen. I don't see no. Should we wait for like 5 minutes or just get started?
I don't worry, I can wait.
Cool. I think maybe everybody's busy right now. So, I see. Paul is up here. Okay, let's get started. Hi everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Fog and I'm today's host. So today we're gonna have two parts here. So first, I'm gonna give a little introduction to the KubeVela workflow SDK. And after that, I'll give a preview of the Q version upgrade from 0.2 to 0.4. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Cool. So I guess you guys are already familiar with the workflow in KubeVela. So recently, we have separated the workflow logic from the KubeVela repository to another repository. And the reason why we do that is that we found that the workflow part in KubeVela is really useful, and we want to build more in above the workflow. So for in our workflow, it is a lightweight general workflow with rich process control, including conditional judgment, inputs, outputs, timeout, and etc. And second, the steps in workflow are flexible, extensible, and programmable. The steps can be easily customized through the IAC, and that's what we call Q. And it also have multiple built-in step types like notifications, deploy resources, suspend, and step groups, and more. And third, the safe execution with schema in workflow. In our workflow, we can detect risks in advance and greatly reduce the attack risk. And the permissions of the resources are also coverage on the controller. And that's why we want to separate our workflow part from the KubeVela project. So for information, now currently in the master branch of KubeVela, we now use the workflow SDK to execute the application. And here's a picture to try to explain how we use that. So first, in KubeVela application, we will generate a workflow instance. This instance is from components or the workflow steps in application. And after that, we'll use some generate function to generate steps into task runners. And finally, we execute these runners in order through the workflow SDK. And in the right of this picture, that's what we do in workflow run. So in workflow steps, we're gonna have three general steps. The first is step group, in which we can have some sub-steps. And second is a suspend step. And third is most commonly used, the custom steps. It can have a custom definitions, which is written in Q. And these three types of steps can generate some task runners. And in every task runner, we're gonna first have some pre-check hook. In this hook, we're gonna check whether this runner should be executed or not. For example, if you have write some if conditions in the steps, maybe in this pre-check hook, we're gonna skip this step. And after that, we're gonna have a pre-start hook. In this part, we're gonna have some inputs validation. And after that, it's the main logic in the steps, which is run logic, in which we can use the Q capability and some built-in KubeVela Go functions to convert Q to go logic. And finally, we're gonna have some post-stop hook in which we can output our resources into the workflow context. And it's now a new repository, and here's the link in the GitHub. So you can see that we have already introduced the workflow SDK into the KubeVela repository. And if you have some interest, you can also build your own workflow above the workflow SDK. So that's the introduction to the workflow SDK. Any questions about that?
So this will allow us to create a more functions to use in between the workflow steps. Sometimes we need to convert some output into different format to before passing it to the next step. Will that allow this extension? Will it allow to add more functions?
Actually, this is more like optimized to the current workflow mechanism in KubeVela. But in the future, we're gonna support what you said, like more customized function in the KubeVela, or you can say in the workflow step definition. In the future, we're gonna have the feature that allow user to register their on-go functions into the workflow, so that in their workflow steps they can use their on-go functions.
Okay.
Cool. So if there's no other questions, we're gonna jump to the second part here, the upgrade of Q. So in the past version of KubeVela, we are using the 0.2 version of Q. But the Q community has already changed a lot, and its current version is 0.4. But there's some inconsistent between the two versions, so that's pretty hard for the KubeVela side to do the upgradation. But now in the master version, or you can say in the future 1.6 version of KubeVela, we're gonna upgrade the Q version from 0.2 to 0.4. So here's some preview of the upgrade. So first, in 0.4 of Q, we're gonna have the stricter validate. For example, in 0.2, we can have this for range, which you can see that in parameter optional array. Sorry, there's a typo here, but you can see the optional array is is the optional array. And in my logic in outputs, I try to for range the parameter in optional array and to check if the data is exist. It can pass in the 0.2, but in 0.4, the Q will report an error because the optional array is optional in the parameter, and the Q cannot allow this to be happen. So in the 0.4 version, the Q now have the stricter validate, which can provide the user and provide our resources and data. Also, the current version of Q can have richer syntax support. For example, in the past version, we can see the example here. If we have specified the two if comprehension in one array, it will report error. The error is like the multiple comprehensions police not exported. But in the current version, the 0.4 version, now Q can support such comprehensions. However, there's still some bugs that are not fixed in the 0.4. So we're gonna release our 1.6 version in the middle of October. But we'll still discuss with the Q community and try to fix more in the current Q version. And there may be some maybe some change that need to be done in the user queue definitions, but we're gonna try to modify, try to fix that from the KubeVela controller. So any questions about that?
So will this have any impact on the reconciliation of the objects, changing the queue template? Will that cause any existing component upgrade which we written in already, old version?
When we have released the we're gonna release the 1.6 version, we're gonna have a doc about the detail upgradation in the for the queue. There may be some modification that need to be done in the user side, but that's because there's some incompatible from the queue community from upgrade 0.2 to 0.4. But we're still discussing with the queue community, and we'll try to fix that from our side. But in the long term, the user or you can say for example in the first part here, the stricter validate, if you are using such syntax here that you it's better to fix that, to check the parameter dot optional array is bottom here to avoid this disjunction. But we're gonna fix that from the KubeVela controller in the short term. But for long term, the user still have to fix that syntax. Because the queue community will no longer support that.
Okay.
Okay, so for the upgradation, we're gonna have a very detailed documentation to try to explain how to fix the upgradation, and we're gonna have the whole doc here when we release the new release. Okay, so if there's no other questions, we're gonna
Can I
end.
ask one question?
Oh, please.
So I've submitted a pretty small item to the catalog, KubeVela catalog. Are you handling fixing those, or is it down to the submitting authors to update them to Q 0.4?
No, I'm not very sure what you have done in catalog.
I added a new trait,
Oh,
Azure secret store mounting, and of course it uses Q. So I don't know if you're is the central KubeVela project going to deal with updating all the Q in there, or will it be down to the authors to do it?
Oh, I see. If you are writing the trait or component in the core repository, which is KubeVela, we're gonna have some tests to cover this. But if this is not covered by test, I'm not sure we're gonna have. But we'll still have the E2E test in the catalog repository. So currently the test is all passed, and I don't think the influence is so big that all the definitions in the catalog repository will be influenced. But there may be some, but currently all the tests are passed. But if it is not covered by the test, then there may be some error report if you try the latest version.
Yeah, I didn't add a test, so I guess I'll have to check it when 1.6 comes out. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. We're gonna try to add more tests to cover the catalog in the future, because I see actually there's so many definitions in that repository.
Yeah, and probably most of them don't have tests either, I guess, like mine.
Yeah, we just enable the add-on and disable that. That's all of the tests in the catalog.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, well, thank you for the answer.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay, so I think that's today's meeting, and thank you again for joining us. Okay, so bye.
Excuse
Thank
me.
you very much.
Hello, are you still there? Hello.
Yes, please.
So we have some upgrade issues when we upgrading 1.41 to 1.54. So this is basically happening to the Flux CD. So most of the objects getting deleted and recreated. When we look at log in Vela core, it is continuous loop. It is the Helms CRDs are getting deleted and recreating every 5 seconds. So it's never completing it. This is happening with the latest version of Flux CD. But if we keep it, the Flux CD version 1.3.5, it's working properly to upgrade 1.5.4. I'm not sure whether it is related to the Cube core.
I'm not sure if this
So what?
issue is reported in Slack. I guess I have seen this issue in Slack channel.
Yeah, we posted a couple of days ago. So there was some back and forth conversation, but we still see this issue is happening for upgrade cluster. And one other thing, what we noticed, Flux CD add-on, we don't see any dependency between the KubeVela core and Flux CD. It's getting updated free form. So whenever they push, I don't see any version which ties to the KubeVela core. And also what we noticed, the major change in Flux CD add-on itself. So the before Q, they were using camel-based templates versus the Cube-based template. So they upgrade to the Cube-base to the 2.00. But I don't see any migration steps which they indicated.
Oh, I see. So for the upgradation to the Flux AD add-on, I think it's better to raise an issue in the catalog repository so that we will take this upgrade. And also for the upgrade problem, I think it's better to have more details talked in GitHub issue or the Slack channel so that we can have some more details to fix the problem.
Yeah. So with the Flux CD itself, you're saying, right? So the issue which we need to raise it at Flux CD add-on level, or you're saying that at core level?
I'm sorry, I don't get very clear.
So what I'm asking,
Lakshman, she's saying to raise it in the catalog. So where the add-ons are, right? Raise it in the catalog.
Yeah, raise the issue in a catalog and we're gonna take a look at it.
okay,
Lakshman, have you already raised it in the core?
Core, we didn't raise it. I think we're not sure what's happening, the real root cause, which we are looking for last few days. We posted in KubeVela Slack channel. I don't think which we raised any issue there.
Yeah, maybe in addition to posting the Slack channel, we should raise it, wherever we think the right place is. So anyway, let's go ahead and do it in the catalog.
Yeah, let's do that. But I think there's an issue already raised. If you want to check the Slack.
Okay. So, but we wanted from KubeVela core team, if any add-on which is submitting to the core, I think we should have the compatibility metrics. I don't think you guys are well maintaining the add-on compatibility metrics, which might cause issue in future. I think which we cannot every time disable the add-on and enable it. That would delete a lot of our objects, which is not an option for us to disable the add-on and test it. So is there a way which you guys can enforce who are contributing to the add-on? They should at least maintain that compatibility metrics.
So, sorry, I still don't get very clear, but I think if this is an issue and it need to be fixed, we can talk either in the GitHub issues or the Slack channel. Both are okay, and we're gonna have some more tests covered in the catalog so that the users, mostly the Fluxity user, cannot be influenced by that.
Okay. Okay, let's continue on the Slack.
Okay.
Okay, so any other questions? Okay, so I guess we're gonna end this meeting, and the recorder of the meeting will be uploaded to YouTube channel after meeting is over. Okay, so bye.
Thank you. Right.
Thank you. Bye.